The meeting will begin in 1 minute. The meeting will begin in 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay, I call this meeting of the Land Use Committee to order Tuesday, October 17th. And as you can see, I am not Councilor Marshall Selberg. He has a work commitment, so I am just simply filling in. So it'll be the three of us today, Councilor Staley, Neitzer, and myself will be taking care of business here. First order item of business is approval of the minutes, and would one of you kindly make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. It's unanimous. All right, very good. That moves us up to reports and updates. And our one and only report here today is on street lighting engineering design standards. And Nicholas Borns is going to be presenting, our principal engineer along with Jerry. Is it Jongling? Okay, thank you, Jerry. Go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nick Borns. I'm a principal engineer for the city of Sioux Falls for water and light and power. We're here today to present to you some engineering design standards revisions, specifically Chapter 15, roadway lighting. What we're going to be asking from you today, I guess, is a recommendation of approval so we can move forward with this to City Council. And just give everybody a little bit of a background of how we got here, I guess, to presenting the revisions to the engineering design standards. In November of 2015, we were introduced to a new business practice for the installation of roadway lighting items in new developments. Basically, now we're going to have licensed and bonded contractors installing the roadway lighting items, and then the city will then take ownership of these assets and be responsible for maintenance of them. In the past and up to this point, the private utility companies, the power companies, had been installing these facilities and maintaining ownership and maintenance of them. At that point, at the November of 2015 point, that's when our work really started as far as making sure we were going to coordinate a smooth transition into this new business model. In just a minute here, Jerry Jongling will be speaking to that effect. I can't stress enough, I guess, how much effort and communication and collaboration went into coming up with this business model change. I guess one other thing that we'll be also making adjustments to, and this is, I guess, kind of just a side note, but we're going to be also doing revisions to our supplemental specifications, and then our engineering policy, and we've got the design policy, general plan notes, standard bid items, and the engineering design details. And they're basically one and the same with the engineering design standards. They build off of each other. Those aren't required to go to the council for approval. That's why we're coming to you with the design standards. If, I guess, pending the approval of the design standards, we would then make the subsequent changes to those documents as well. So with that, I'd like to have Jerry go ahead and talk to you guys about that process.
Okay. Thank you, Nick.
Good afternoon, Council. Like Nick said, my name is Jerry Jongling, Light Power Superintendent for Public Works. We have a presentation here to kind of reiterate what Nick was saying. So back in November, business plan opportunity was presented to us, and then we started working with contractors, local contractors, designers, developers, and researching what this is going to mean. Along with that, we also called multiple cities around the area, Lincoln, Rapid City, Aberdeen, you know, as many as we could to research and figure out what we need to do, what the best business practice is for us to do. And we developed all that, and then we began, and we took about a year to do that. Then in February of 17 this year, we bid two city pilot projects based on the information we received. We figured out these were the two best things for the city of Sioux Falls, and we did a pilot project to develop costs and to develop the proper standards for our area that will help our contractors and our developers. So along with that, in March, then we decided to update our engineering design standards and policies and everything that Nick mentioned. They really hadn't been updated since about 2007, so it was time for an overhaul of those at the same time as we did this, the new business process. And so then we introduced this to IRAB group, and we just kept moving forward with it. So how the streetlights work today in the residential areas? What happens is the power provider, whether it's XL, Southeastern, Sioux Valley, they install a stub-up wire from the transformer, and then the city comes and installs a light pole right on top of it. City turns on the light, we're all good. Then we take the combination of the bill from the stub-up from the power provider and for the city's costs, we put them all together and we build a developer for it, and that's part of their cost for the development, you know, same as streets, water, sewer, whatever it takes to put the development in. Along with that, then the city pays a monthly fee to keep these lights going for them, for the power provider. The city then also maintains the street light and the shaft and all that. So what's changing is the power providers, as of January 1st, will no longer install that power wire from the transformer to the street light. That means they will not be doing the locating anymore, the underground repairs, any maintenance on that underground wire. So then what's going to mean is the city's going to own that wire from here on out. And I do want to stress that this is from January 1st of 2018 to the future. Anything that's existing is going to stay the exact same way it always has been for the last, 20, 30 years this process has been in place. So the business plan, what's going to change is basically the developer is going to be in charge of installing the streetlight wire, shaft, and everything, just as they install the street, just install the curb and gutter, just as they install the water, sewer, and all that. They'll be in charge of all of it, and they'll put it all in the same time. They'll be able to coordinate it all together and be really efficient. The city is going to be responsible for the inspection of the construction. Make sure the wire is deep enough, make sure they're following all of our standards. City will still supply the light shafts and the LED lights. We buy those in bulk every year. We get a good rate, and we'll still supply all that. We'll be in charge of the locates after everything's energized, and we'll own and maintain all the wire. So with all that change, that's one, and that along with the update, that's one of the reasons we're upgrading these engineer design standards. So the engineer design standards will go to IRAB for approval and to the council. The standard specifications will just go to IRAB, and the design policies that go to IRAB also, and we already have their approval. So with our pilot project, here's some of the costs that came up out of that. So where it says existing system on it, that's what we were again put in. That's what it had been costing us on average for the last couple of years with the power providers installing it. The next one down Majestic Meadows, that was installing the street lights the same as the power providers had done it in the past, but through the public bid. The next one was when we installed the system like we do 41st Street, like we do 26th Street, conduit, concrete bases, a good, really long-lasting, high or low-maintenance system. And then on the bottom there is kind of our proposed is a hybrid of the 2 pilots we did. We're going to install the conduit but not the concrete and all that sort of stuff to help through all the costs here. We realized it's probably better for the developers, for the homeowners, for everybody to find the happy medium in those costs. So through the coordination of this, we've had lots of conversations with lots of different people. We introduced the new business practices to the board, to the IRAB board. We did the updates for them, presented proposed EDS to the board in October after we have all these costs in, after we have all these changes in. We worked all summer on these and we got the final of them to them in October. We gave them a month to do comments from the engineers, from the designers. They gave us the comments. And then in November, they recommended approval. We also went to the Home Builder Association and did the same presentation and let them know exactly what's going on. So moving forward, we already have the IRAB approval. We'd like to get the approval of this council here, and then we'll move forward and present it to the full city council in December. After that, we'll update the website with all the EDS standards and all the developers and contractors, and everybody will be able to look at and learn from. If any questions, I'd be happy to help them answer them for you guys.
Questions for Jerry? Counselor?
Thank you. So do we know why Xcel Energy is getting out of this business?
They're changing their business practice for Sioux Falls. Basically, out of all of Xcel Energy, through Minnesota down to Texas, we're the only community they did this for. So they're just falling in line with the rest of their rules and regulations.
Okay. And then obviously if we're going to have engineering design standards and then these are going to be our responsibility once they're handed over to us, what does the inspection process look like for all of this?
Yeah, the inspection process goes through engineering. So they will inspect our street lights at the same time they're inspecting the streets, same time they're inspecting the water and sewer, and as soon as they're inspecting the development.
Okay. So who would be allowed to perform this work? If I'm a developer, who am I allowed to subcontract to do this? Just any licensed electrician or?
So a licensed electrician would be the preferred method, but us being a utility, we don't fall under the same rules as the NEC code. So as a utility, whomever a responsible party could do it. So if there is an earthwork guy putting in the streets and the water and all that, he has the equipment there, he in turn could install the wire too, as long as he meets our engineering design standards.
Does that include he can make connections and all that, not just put in conduit, or?
No, the city makes all the connections. And that'll be our inspection process at the final, is everything be installed, then we will come, make sure everything looks good, make the final connections, and then turn it on.
Okay, and then maybe finally, so it does look like it's a good compromise with the direct bury method, but what's the difference as far as stability or anything else between direct bury versus having a, for the light pole as far as getting knocked over?
Yep, no, that's a great question. So the light poles being installed is the same as they are right now in the residential areas. It'll be a direct bury pole, so we'll dig a hole, put the pole in their packet. And then what was going to happen is the conduit is going to be installed in the ground for the wire to be installed in. That way, if the wire would fail or something needs to change, we're not digging up Grandma Jones' flower bed. We're not tearing up a driveway. We'll be able to pull out the old and pull in the new. So that was a good solid compromise, we thought.
Yeah, obviously having the wire and conduit, so you can just slip it through or whatever.
Yep.
But is the concrete? But what's the point of the concrete base though for the actual pole? I mean, is that versus just? Are you putting any concrete in there? Like I'm putting in a fence post, or do you just literally just put the pole down in the earth 6 feet?
Yep. No, we just put the pole down. We pack it. We have special tools to pack it. We put dirt around it, pack it in there, and they work very well.
Is that what's in residential right now?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep,
So and they're not falling over, so
Nope.
they're fine. Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay. Councilor Staley.
Okay, Jerry, thank you. Not being a mechanical person, I've just got a few questions here.
Yeah, sure.
So for clarification, we have to make, the city has to take this responsibility on.
That's correct.
So there, even if developers had a problem with it, it wouldn't matter, or the Home Builders Association. This is, we're going here, right?
Correct.
Okay. The question then is the cost involved, the pilot. Okay. So why wouldn't we be doing it exactly the way Xcel Energy did it?
The reason for stepping up to do the hybrid is to help the city's maintenance costs in the future. It does cost a little bit more up front, but in the long run, over the next 30, 40, 50 years, as the city has to maintain it, it will save the city quite a bit of money in maintenance costs.
So that's going to be the extra $654?
Correct.
And have you had any negative pushback from the Home Builders Association?
We really haven't. They realize the change is coming, and with change, sometimes costs happen, sometimes different business practices happen, and we really haven't had much pushback at all.
And who's in charge of the lighting, the street lights?
That'd be the Light and Power Division of Public Works.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you a separate question, as long as I get you. If someone wants to have a new street light put in an existing residential area, then are they going to have to, how does that look? How does that work?
Sure. And we do get those requests, we get a number a year. Dark areas in Sioux Falls, especially in the more established neighborhoods. Yeah, they give us a call. We go out there, inspect the site. We find the most cost-effective way to get a light in that area, whether we share facilities with Xcel Energy and run a wire over, set a pole. There's a number of different ways, and we do the best we can to.
So how much does that cost to put in a pole and a light fixture in an existing area?
There's a wide variety of costs there.
But it's not going to be the $2,000 that we're looking at here?
It could.
And so does that cost the homeowner anything, that the city just absorbs that?
City's responsibility to provide the lighting for the safe streets.
How many new poles do you think you put in residential areas a year, existing?
So we've done a couple of projects where All Saints and, All Saints is next, Whittier and Cathedral, where we go and canvass the area. We drive up and down the streets and we look for dark areas, or we try to find the best spot. And costs can vary from just installing a light on an existing wood pole that could literally cost $250, or if we have to set a wood pole and run a line from a back lot, that could run around $2,000, $1,500.
So you think you might do 10 new poles a year? 150?
No, probably closer to 10, yeah.
Just as an estimate. And I think as we're talking about safety in neighborhoods, that really is going to be a low-cost way of helping keep people feeling comfortable and safe.
Yep, that's our number one concern.
Thank you.
Any other? Councilor Neisser.
Thank you. Just one more follow-up. I do have a question about the $654, but I will say this is completely anecdotal and on a small scale, but when I bought a house here years ago, the previous homeowner had built a new garage, and they did a sub panel in the garage, and they did a direct bury. Mm-hmm. They ran the wire right in the ground, and whether it was up to code or to that time, I don't know. But anyway, we started having an electrical problem, and so we ended up having to excavate and dig it all up and just to get to this wire. And it turns out that one of the wires had somehow been damaged or nicked or something like that.
Right.
Where there was the neutral wasn't working or something. But anyway, when we put it in, when we reinstalled it, we did the whole conduit thing or whatever. And had that conduit have been there, we could have just disconnected and whooshed right on out. And easy as pie versus having to do all this excavation. So I could see on the back end later when you're maintaining it, rather than having to dig up all kinds of property and do all this different stuff. You have the restoration costs and the labor, plus I suppose you may have people who might be upset if you're tearing up their yard.
Correct.
You know,
That
whatever.
does
So
happen.
that's a big deal too. So the 654 though, is that per light?
That'd be per light, and I would like to expand on that a little bit if I may.
You'd almost have to apportion that. One light might service a handful of houses, so I don't think that wouldn't be per house. Go ahead.
No, yeah, and our typical average is we put a light about every 200 feet. So that'd be one light within 400. And that cost we came up with, that was on a city bid contract. So what will happen in the future is developers will be working with their own contractors on their own. So they can negotiate a price that works for them, based on the volume of work and all that. So this $654 is based on a city contract as opposed to what a developer can negotiate on his own.
Well, even if you take that, 65 feet is the standard width of a residential lot, so that 200 feet, that's 3. And I don't know if do you do lights on both sides ever, or just on one side of
Yep, just usually on the lot lines.
So you could maybe
200
argue 6 houses, that might be an extra $100 per new house, I guess. If that makes sense, 3 and 3.
Yep.
Perhaps. So I
that could
think
be-
that's important context. It's not $654 a house.
Correct.
Okay. Councilor Staley.
So you're saying that the standard is street light every 200 feet?
Correct, yep.
And I've never thought about that, but so if I go in my neighborhood, I'm going to find is that what we're doing in existing neighborhoods, or is that just new development?
And that's a new development. In the existing neighborhoods, the more established neighborhoods, what they used to do in the past was put one on every street corner, and that was it, because that's where people walked and that's where people crossed the street. And so now part of our safety program or our neighborhood improvement program is to go through them and add more lights.
So would we ever have a goal as 200 feet in existing neighborhoods, or would that be?
We try to get as close to
Burdensome?
that. Yeah, we try to get as close to that we can. In existing neighborhoods, we try to we have those ones on the established street corners, then we'll try to put one mid-block and then have one on the other street corner. So
Okay,
depending on the size of the block.
thank you.
Councilor Neitzer.
Just thought of one more. Is LED required in new development?
We did, all new construction now is LED. So whether it's Louise Avenue, 26th Street, or developments, everything new is LED.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. All right, and it does make sense. This is a pay me now or pay me later scenario. I mean, even with the LED lights that we were just talking about and the hybrid system using the conduit, it's just, it saves in the long run.
Correct.
And now originally, I was thinking this was just simply a report, but I see in your presentation, you do want approval from the land use to move forward. So can I have a motion?
Move to approve.
And
I'll
a
second that.
That works out perfect, doesn't it? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and it looks like it's coming forward in the form of a resolution then on the 5th of December?
Correct.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you very much, Nick and Jerry.
Thank you, Council.
We
Have a great
appreciate
night.
it. You know, I was going to say that I was impressed that last winter, somebody knocked down one of our lights on our street mid-block, and within the day, the next day, there was a crew there putting it in. It was pretty amazing during the winter months.
Thank you. We do try hard.
Yeah, yes, thank you very much for that due diligence. Okay, we've got open discussion. Any items for open discussion? Okay. Councilor Staley.
I just wanted to say I really appreciated having Matt Tobias come in to our meeting. That was a month or so ago.
Yes.
Talking about the boulevard gardening ordinance. I thought that was very helpful.
Yeah, Matt's the right person for that position as well, too. Matt does a very nice job. Any other items for open discussion? Okay, seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.